"Did you take the stone?" he asks, his voice sharp. Amani shakes her head, her wide eyes reflecting fear. In the heart of the African savannah, the village of Njozi thrives under the shadow of a mighty baobab tree. This ancient tree, with its gnarled branches and roots that dig deep into the earth like claws, is said to hold the spirits of the ancestors. The villagers gather beneath it to pray, celebrate, and seek guidance. But with every whispered prayer comes a warning. The tree is sacred, and disturbing it could awaken a curse that no one can stop. 15-year-old Kato listens to these stories with a skeptical grin. While the elders speak in hushed tones, Kato leans against a hut, tossing a small stone in his hand. "It's just a tree," he mutters to his best friend Amani. Amani, fiery and quick-witted, narrows her eyes at him. "You're too bold, Kato. One day your curiosity will get you into trouble." That evening, as the village gathers for the moonlit storytelling, Kato overhears the elders speaking in low, serious tones. "The treasure beneath the baobab is not for mortal hands," Elder Jabari says. "To take it is to invite ruin." Kato's ears perk up. A treasure? His heart races with excitement. Surely it's just a story to keep people from exploring the roots. The thought eats away at him all night. The next day, he pulls Amani aside. "There is something buried beneath the tree," he whispers, his eyes gleaming with mischief. Amani hesitates, her instincts warning her against it. "Don't even think about it," she says, but Kato's determination is unshakable. He convinces her to join him, promising that they'll be quick and careful. When the moon is high and the village is silent, Kato and Amani sneak out with a lantern and a rusty shovel. The baobab looms before them like a sleeping giant. Kato hesitates for only a moment before plunging the shovel into the soil. With every dig, the wind seems to pick up, whispering warnings neither of them understands. "Kato," Amani says, gripping his arm, "something feels wrong." But Kato is too close to stop now. His shovel strikes something hard, and the ground seems to shudder beneath their feet. Kato drops to his knees, brushing away the dirt with trembling hands. Beneath the surface lies a box, ancient and wrapped in the tree's roots. The wood is dark and weathered, carved with symbols neither of them recognizes. "This is it," Kato breathes, his voice filled with awe. Amani shivers, glancing over her shoulder, as if expecting to see eyes watching them in the dark. "Let's leave it," she whispers. "We don't know what this is." But Kato doesn't listen. He pries the box loose from the roots, feeling its weight in his hands. When they open it, their breath catches. Inside are coins that gleam like the sun, gemstones that sparkle like stars, and at the center, a strange black stone. It hums softly, sending a faint vibration through their fingers. "We're rich," Kato says, his grin wide. He slips a coin and the stone into his pocket, ignoring Amani's protests. The wind suddenly stops, and the air becomes unnervingly still. Even the crickets fall silent. "Put it back, Kato," Amani pleads, her voice trembling. But Kato shakes his head, his excitement blinding him to the growing unease. "This treasure could change our lives," he insists. As they return home, strange things begin to happen. The shadows cast by the baobab tree stretch impossibly long, twisting across the ground like creeping hands. The lantern flickers, though there's no wind. Amani grips Kato's arm tightly, her knuckles white. "We've done something wrong," she whispers. When they part ways, Kato feels the weight of the black stone in his pocket. That night, his dreams are haunted by whispers and glowing red eyes. He wakes in a cold sweat, his chest heaving. Reaching for the stone, he finds it gone. Panic grips him, and for the first time, he wonders if he's made a terrible mistake. The sun rises over Njozi, casting long golden rays over the village, but Kato's heart feels heavy as he searches frantically for the black stone. His room is small, with just a mat and a wooden chest. yet the stone is nowhere to be found. Amani must have taken it, he mutters, though deep down he knows she wouldn't. When he finds Amani by the river, she looks pale and distracted. "Did you take the stone?" he asks, his voice sharp. Amani shakes her head, her wide eyes reflecting fear. "I don't want anything to do with it," she says. "But Kato, something's wrong. I couldn't sleep last night. I kept hearing whispers." Before Kato can respond, the sound of screams pierces the morning air. The two sprint back to the village, where a crowd has gathered around the baobab tree. Its roots are no longer still. They writhe like living things, snaking across the ground and cracking the earth. The villagers back away, their faces etched with terror. Elder Jabari steps forward, his walking stick trembling in his hand. "The curse has been awakened," he says gravely, his voice loud enough to silence the murmuring crowd. His gaze lands on Kato, and it feels as though the elder can see straight into his soul. "Someone disturbed the treasure," Jabari continues, his eyes narrowing. "Who has brought this upon us?" Kato's throat tightens and he remains silent. Amani steps forward, her voice trembling. "We didn't know," she says. We only looked." The villagers gasp and Kato glares at her. "We don't even know if this is connected," he snaps, but the damage is done. Jabari's expression softens, but his tone is firm. "The spirit of the baobab demands balance," he says. "If the treasure is not returned, the curse will consume us all. The spirit will take one of us as payment." The village erupts into chaos, with people shouting and crying. Kato stands frozen, his heart pounding. He feels the black stone's absence like a missing limb. "We'll fix it," Amani says, pulling him aside. "We'll return the treasure, but first we need to find the stone." That night, an unnatural cold settles over Njozi, and a mist rolls in from nowhere. Kato and Amani sit huddled in his small hut, the treasure box lying between them. The coins and gemstones gleam faintly, but their beauty feels sinister now. "It's not enough," Amani whispers. "The stone is missing." Suddenly, the door creaks open, though no one stands outside. A gust of wind extinguishes the lantern, plunging the room into darkness. Then, a figure emerges from the mist, glowing faintly. It is the spirit of the baobab tree, its form tall and skeletal, with a face carved like bark and eyes that burn red. "You have taken what is not yours," the spirit booms, its voice echoing like thunder. Kato and Amani tremble, unable to look away. "Return the treasure, or your village will wither." "We're trying," Amani cries, tears streaming down her face. "But the stone is gone." The spirit leans closer, its glowing eyes fixed on Kato. "Too late," it says, its tone icy and unforgiving. "The balance has been broken. A sacrifice must be made." Before Kato can speak, the spirit vanishes, leaving the room cold and silent. Amani sinks to her knees, sobbing. "It's my fault," Kato whispers, his voice shaking. "I shouldn't have taken it." The next morning, the village elders gather to discuss what must be done. Elder Jabari, his face lined with sorrow, speaks with finality. "I will be the sacrifice," he declares. The villagers cry out in protest, but Jabari raises his hand to silence them. "The tree has protected us for generations. It is my duty to protect you now." As the villagers watch, the spirit appears once more, taking Jabari into its glowing embrace. The baobab tree's roots fall still, but the air remains heavy with unease. Kato feels a crushing weight of guilt as Amani whispers, "It's not over. The stone is still missing." After Elder Jabari's sacrifice, a heavy silence settles over Njozi. The villagers go about their daily tasks, but there's an air of unease, like a storm waiting to break. Kato and Amani sit on the edge of the riverbank, away from the accusing stares of the other villagers. The golden coins and gemstones lie wrapped in cloth between them, but their weight feels heavier than gold. "We returned the treasure," Amani says softly, tracing patterns in the dirt with a stick. "Why isn't it over?" Kato shakes his head, frustration etched on his face. "The black stone," he mutters. "It's the key. Without it, the curse won't lift." The two spend the day retracing their steps, searching the spot where they buried the box and the path they took back to the village. Every corner of the village square is combed through, but the black stone is nowhere to be found. As the sun sets, painting the sky with hues of red and orange, the baobab tree creaks loudly, its branches twisting unnaturally. A chill runs down Amani's spine. "We have to keep looking," Kato insists. His determination burns bright, but Amani's energy falters. "What if it doesn't want to be found?" she whispers. Her words hang in the air, heavy with fear. That night, Kato returns to his hut exhausted. He lies on his mat, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment since they unearthed the treasure. Guilt claws at him. "I shouldn't have taken it," he whispers to himself. Sleep eventually claims him, but it is restless and filled with strange dreams. In his dream, he stands before the baobab tree, its roots writhing like serpents. A figure emerges from the tree, cloaked in shadow, its face indistinct. "You cannot escape the price," it hisses. The black stone appears in its hand, glowing faintly. "Find me, or your village will pay the cost." Kato wakes with a start, sweat dripping down his face. The room feels colder than it should. At the foot of his mat, a faint glow catches his eye. There, resting on the floor, is the black stone. It hums softly, pulsing with a life of its own. He reaches for it, but the moment his fingers graze its surface, it vanishes like smoke. The next morning, he shares his dream with Amani, who listens intently. "Maybe the stone is tied to the tree," she suggests. "If it's appearing in your dreams, it's calling to you." Determined to act, they return to the baobab tree under the cover of darkness. Kato carries a lantern, its flickering light barely piercing the thick mist that clings to the ground. As they approach, the tree groans, its branches swaying though there's no wind. The black stone's hum grows louder in Kato's ears, a sound Amani cannot hear. "Do you feel that?" Kato asks, his voice trembling. Amani shakes her head. "I don't feel or hear anything," she replies. "But if the stone is calling to you, we have to follow it." Kato places his hand on the tree's bark, and a shock runs through him. His vision blurs, and for a moment, he feels as if he is standing in another world. He sees the black stone buried deep within the roots, pulsating like a heartbeat. When he pulls his hand away, the vision vanishes. "It's under the tree," he says, his voice filled with both awe and dread. Amani steps back, shaking her head. "We can't dig again, Kato. The last time we disturbed the tree, it cursed the whole village." "I don't think we have a choice," Kato replies. His voice is firm, but inside, he feels the weight of uncertainty. If the stone is buried beneath the baobab, retrieving it could mean unleashing something far worse than they've already seen. Night falls heavy over Njozi, the sky thick with clouds that hide the stars. Kato and Amani stand before the baobab tree once more, lantern light flickering in the restless wind. The tree looms above them, its twisted branches clawing at the night sky. The villagers' homes lie silent in the distance, but the weight of their whispers and accusing stares still lingers in the air. "We need to finish this," Kato says, gripping the shovel tightly. Amani hesitates, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her tunic. "What if we make it worse?" she asks. Kato glances at her, his jaw set. "It's already worse. If we do nothing, the village will fall apart. I can't let that happen." He plunges the shovel into the earth, and the sound of metal against soil cuts through the stillness. Amani kneels beside him, using her hands to clear away the dirt as they dig deeper. Each movement feels like a challenge to the tree, whose roots begin to groan and shift beneath them. Hours pass and their muscles ache, but finally, Kato's shovel strikes something solid. The black stone lies embedded in a tangle of roots, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. "There it is," Kato breathes, reaching out to grab it. As his fingers close around the stone, a deafening roar fills the air. The ground shakes violently, and the roots of the baobab lash out, coiling around Kato's arm. Amani screams and grabs him, pulling with all her strength. "Let go!" she cries, her voice breaking with panic. The stone's hum grows louder, resonating through Kato's body. Visions flash before his eyes. Ancient villagers bowing before the tree, blood-soaked rituals, and shadowy figures emerging from the roots. He sees Elder Jabari's face, sorrowful and resolute, whispering, "The curse is never satisfied." With a final, desperate pull, Amani yanks Kato free, and they tumble backward onto the ground. The black stone lies in his hand, cold and unyielding. The tree falls silent, its roots retreating into the soil. The air is thick with tension as Kato and Amani stare at each other, their breaths ragged. "We have it," Amani says, her voice shaking. "But what do we do now?" Kato looks at the stone, its faint glow illuminating his trembling fingers. "We take it to the elders," he says. "They'll know how to end this." The next morning, Kato and Amani stand before the Council of Elders, the black stone resting on a woven mat between them. The elders sit in a semicircle, their faces grave and lined with years of wisdom. Elder Adisa, now the leader in Jabari's absence, leans forward, his eyes narrowing at the stone. "This is the source of the curse," Adisa says, his voice heavy with authority. "It was never meant to be disturbed." Kato steps forward, his voice firm despite his nerves. "We didn't know. We thought it was just treasure. But we want to fix it. Tell us how." The elders exchange glances, their expressions unreadable. Finally, Adisa speaks. "The black stone is no ordinary object. It is a piece of the tree's spirit, bound by a ritual long before our time. To return balance, the stone must be destroyed, but doing so will come at a cost." "What kind of cost?" Amani asks, her voice trembling. "The stone's power is tied to the lives of those who touched it. To destroy it, one of you must give up your life," Adisa says solemnly. A heavy silence falls over the room. Kato's heart pounds, and he feels Amani's gaze on him. "There must be another way," he says, his voice barely above a whisper. "There is no other way," Adisa replies. "The curse will not be satisfied until a life is taken." Kato looks at Amani, guilt and fear churning in his chest. "I'll do it," he says suddenly. The words hang in the air, shocking even himself. Amani grabs his arm. "No, Kato, we'll find another way. We can't just give up." "I caused this," Kato says, his voice breaking. "If someone has to pay, it should be me." The elders watch silently, their faces heavy with sorrow. Adisa nods. "If this is your choice, we will prepare the ritual tonight." That evening, the village gathers under the baobab tree. Torches flicker in the darkness, casting eerie shadows on the ground. Kato stands in the centre, the black stone cradled in his hands. His heart pounds, but his resolve remains firm. Amani stands beside him, tears streaming down her face. "You don't have to do this," she whispers, but Kato shakes his head. "I have to. For the village. For you." The elders chant softly, their voices blending with the rustling leaves of the baobab. The stone begins to glow brighter, its hum resonating through the air. Kato kneels before the tree, placing the stone at its roots. As the chanting grows louder, the stone pulses violently and the ground shakes. A spectral figure emerges from the tree, its red eyes fixed on Kato. "You have chosen to restore balance," it says, its voice like the wind through hollow branches. The spirit reaches out, its shadowy hand hovering over Kato. Amani cries out, trying to run to him, but the elders hold her back. "This is his choice," Adisa says, his voice thick with emotion. The spirit's hand descends, and a blinding light envelops Kato. The villagers shield their eyes, the air crackling with energy. When the light fades, Kato is gone, and the stone lies shattered at the base of the tree. The baobab falls silent, its roots and branches still for the first time in weeks. The curse is lifted, but the cost is etched into the hearts of everyone in Njozi. The village of Njozi is eerily silent after the ritual. The baobab tree, now dormant and still, casts long shadows under the pale moonlight. The villagers slowly disperse, their faces etched with grief and relief. Amani remains rooted to the spot, staring at the shattered remnants of the black stone. Tears stream down her face, and her chest heaves with silent sobs. Elder Adisa approaches her, his walking stick tapping softly against the ground. "He made a brave choice," he says gently, placing a hand on her shoulder. But his words feel hollow. Amani turns to him, her eyes blazing with anger and sorrow. "Why did it have to be him? Why couldn't we find another way?" she cries. Adisa's face is lined with sorrow. The curse demanded balance. Kato understood this. His sacrifice has saved us all. But Amani isn't comforted. She storms away, her heart heavy with guilt and loss. She walks through the quiet village, past homes lit by faint candlelight. The laughter and warmth of Njozi feel distant, as though they belong to another world. She finally reaches the riverbank, their favourite spot, and collapses onto the ground. The memories of Kato flood her mind. His bold grin, his unshakable determination, his loyalty. "I should have stopped him," she whispers, clutching her knees to her chest. The night is cold, and the sound of the river's gentle flow is the only comfort she finds. In the days following Kato's sacrifice, life in Njozi slowly begins to return to normal. The livestock are safe, the crops grow green and tall, and the baobab tree no longer groans or shifts. The villagers speak of Kato with a mix of reverence and sorrow, calling him a hero who saved them all. Amani, however, struggles to move on. She avoids the baobab tree and spends her days helping with chores, or sitting alone by the river. Her laughter, once bright and infectious, has faded. The elders notice her grief and try to console her, but she remains distant. One day, as Amani helps Adisa gather herbs in the forest, he stops and looks at her. "You carry a heavy burden," he says softly. "But you must remember that Kato's sacrifice was his choice. He wanted you to live." Amani looks away, blinking back tears. "It doesn't make it easier," she replies. "I feel like I let him down." Adisa places a hand on her shoulder. Kato's story is not just about sacrifice, it's about courage, love, and doing what is right. Honor him by living a life that reflects those values. That night, Amani sits under the stars, her gaze fixed on the baobab tree. For the first time since the ritual, she approaches it. The air around the tree is calm, and its roots no longer pulses with life. She kneels at its base, placing her hand on the bark. "I'm sorry, Kato," she whispers. "I should have been braver. I should have stood by you until the end." As she speaks, a soft breeze stirs the leaves, and she feels a strange warmth in her chest. It's as though Kato's presence lingers, reassuring her. In that moment, she makes a vow. "I'll make sure no one ever forgets what you did," she says, her voice steady. "I'll protect this village, just like you did." Amani spends the following days talking to the elders, asking to be included in their council meetings. Though she is young, her determination impresses them. She learns the history of the baobab, the rituals, and the laws that govern their village. Slowly, she becomes a voice for her generation, ensuring that the mistakes of the past are not repeated. Years pass and Njozi flourishes. The baobab tree remains a symbol of strength and resilience, its shadow no longer a source of fear but of reverence. The villagers often gather under its branches to honour Kato's memory, telling his story to every child born into Njozi. Amani grows into a wise and respected leader. Though her heart still aches for Kato, she finds purpose in her role, guiding the village with kindness and strength. One evening, as the sun sets and the village prepares for a festival under the baobab, Amani stands at the riverbank, watching the golden light dance on the water. She closes her eyes, letting the memories of Kato fill her heart. "I hope you're proud," she whispers, a small smile forming on her lips. As she turns to leave, a soft breeze brushes against her cheek, carrying with it the faintest sound of laughter, Kato's laughter. She stops, her eyes wide, but the breeze fades, leaving her with a sense of peace. The villagers light the first torch, and the baobab glows under its warm light. Amani joins them, her heart lighter than it's been in years. Though Kato is gone, his spirit lives on, in the tree, in the village, and in the hearts of those he saved. And so, the curse of the baobab becomes a tale of courage and sacrifice, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope and love can prevail. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the story of Njozi, where courage, sacrifice, and love transformed a village forever. If this tale touched your heart, inspired you, or made you think about the power of unity and resilience, we'd love to hear from you. What was your favourite moment in the story? Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you have a similar story of courage and sacrifice? Let us know. We'd love to feature more inspiring tales. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel to stay connected with more incredible stories like this one. Together, let's keep the spirit of storytelling alive and thriving. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel to stay connected with more incredible stories like this one. Together, let's keep the spirit of storytelling alive and thriving.